Once considered ground zero for drug and human smuggling, areas of the Arizona border are much more secure than previous years. One of those regions is the Yuma Sector, which borders California. We recently toured the region by boat with Border Patrol agents and by air with a Customs Air and Marine pilot. On this July morning, Arizona Public Media is on a flight with Dan, an air interdiction pilot with Customs Air and Marine. He asked that we only use his first name.
Direction we're headed now.
We're getting a bird's eye view of the Yuma Sector, one of the nation's hotspots for drug and human smuggling. Today it serves as one of the premier examples of infrastructure and manpower, 126 linear miles with Mexico, and 7 counties that span Arizona, California, and all of Nevada. A vast open desert, mountain ranges, sand dunes, and the Colorado River. From the air, pilots like Dan support agents on the ground.
And the good thing about us, like our support to the Border Patrol, even though we might not even see them, just our presence there is a force multiplier for them. Because most of the time it shuts the group down. They'll hide, and they don't want we can see them running. So if we're going to go out there and fly around, we'll see people running. They don't want to do that. They're going to hide under bushes. So that gives the Border Patrol time to catch up.
One of the most unique spots of the U.S.-Mexico border, the Imperial Sand Dunes. Agents call this the floating wall.
There's a constant maintenance on this fence.
The Colorado River serves as the international line and a barrier.
They'll cross the gate below us, and then they'll cross the roads, and then they have to get across the next canal, and then they'll go hide in the fields.
The cities of San Luis, Arizona and San Luis, Mexico are divided by multiple fences, creating multiple obstacles for those trying to cross illegally. It also makes it easier for pilots like Dan to spot when someone is where they shouldn't be.
So anybody that's between those two fences shouldn't be there, so that's like so they get over the first one and then give you some time to react to this before they get over the second one. You'll be amazed how fast some of these guys can climb the fence.
You still have people who actually jump right through?
Oh yeah.
Like right here?
Oh yeah.
Yuma Sector once led the nation in arrests and seizures. In 2005, agents arrested more than 138,000 people and stopped nearly 3,000 vehicles from driving through remote areas. Then in 2006, the Secure Fence Act added 63 miles of wall and 44 miles of vehicle barriers to this sector. Fast forward to 2017, apprehensions dipped to nearly 13,000 and vehicle incursions dropped to 10. Aside from infrastructure and technology, manpower has also increased. Nearly 14 years ago, about 330 agents patrolled this sector. Today, there are more than 800. The agency says more men and women have supported humanitarian efforts to process a growing number of juvenile immigrants and what the agency refers to as OTMs, other than Mexicans. In the last 2 years, the agency has seen a more than 110% increase in children and families from Central America.
The closer to a port you are, the more family units you see. Out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to see as many family units. That's where the drug smugglers go. That's where I would say in general, you'll see more of the criminals trying to get across. In an area that's way more desolate and harder to enforce, harder to work. So their chances are better where it's harder for us to get to.
One of those hard-to-reach regions, a series of mountain ranges, some as long as 20 miles and 4 miles wide. Dan says scouts for the drug cartel regularly keep watch from these mountaintops.
Yeah, I would say 100% chance they've already called us out. They already know that we're here.
Knowing that you're being watched, that's unsettling.
That's frustrating. There's no sneaking up.
Dan circles one of the highest points. Getting closer, he points out trash, signs that someone camps here. The agency gave us this picture of a solar panel. Dan says scouts charge cell phones and radios while here for days at a time. Scouts often lead large groups like this one. In 2006, Dan spotted about 129 people 15 miles north of the border. Another obstacle Dan faces, flight restrictions imposed by the nearby Marine base and bombing range.
Because of the Yuma Marine Corps Air Station that's co-located in the airport, I'm limited to a mile from the border and 200 feet. That's why we're flying as low as we are. So this obviously gets exploited as well. So they know we can't get in there. It's almost like they feel like it's free reign. Once we get there, it's almost like it's amnesty. Until they get to the 8. Once they get to the 8 again, now we're back in business, but there's just a real big chunk of land there that we can't get into, and it is what it is. There's no change in it. The military needs to practice. They need to do their thing. So we work our best to work around the limitations that we have.
East of Yuma, along Interstate 8, lies the busiest immigration checkpoint in the nation. 7,000 to 9,000 vehicles pass through each day. Yuma agents seize most drugs at this checkpoint or from smugglers avoiding this area. Last fiscal year, agents intercepted 30,000 pounds of marijuana and 261 pounds of cocaine. Agents in Yuma are also tasked with patrolling the water.
So here's the Colorado River.
From the air, Dan keeps a lookout for any makeshift bridges across the water, made from sandbags.
You can probably do it overnight, but sometimes it takes a couple days so you can say, hey, they're starting one here.
Next, our tour of Yuma Sector takes us on the Colorado River with Border Patrol Special Operations Supervisor Vinny Dulesky.
We've had a boat patrol since 2007. Pretty much patrols about 7 miles of river.
How valuable is having a boat patrol out here?
Valuable for many reasons. One, it's a good deterrent. We've actually got a presence out here. It's able to be seen. Our boats are rapid response, so they can get anywhere real quick.
Obviously, the heat is an issue, but you still see people who will come and try to traverse this?
Oh, absolutely. They know that we're hot too. So, they'll chance it, knowing that, thinking that we might be fatigued or wore out from the heat, and they will chance it.
Something you're seeing that's unique here in the Yuma sector is where someone will come up to you and that's it. They've given up.
It is something new to us. Instead of the aliens coming over and running and evading us from being apprehended, they'll come across the fence any way they can, and instead of running, they'll find an agent to go turn themselves into. Once they're there, then they'll attempt to seek asylum or claim credible fear.
And that's new for you guys?
That's definitely new for us.
What do you attribute it to?
It could be several factors. We can't narrow it down to just one. It could be word of mouth. It could be the words getting out that hey, we're coming over and we're being held for a little amount of time, but then we're given a court date. No one really knows.
Right. I know resources are always an issue. Has that challenged what Yuma Sector is able to do as far as housing these individuals, these family units?
Well, as far as housing, that's not in our area. That's more of an ICE issue. We hold them temporarily and usually no more than 72 hours.
10, 12, 15 years ago, this was the hot spot, no pun intended, for crossing.
Right.
I mean, it was daily, it was hundreds, and it was thousands of pounds of drugs.
Absolutely.
This place has really been put on lockdown. How did that happen?
The main thing for us was increasing manpower and increasing infrastructure. Before we were dealing with barbed wire fences that they were just running over, to now we've actually have real fences built up. In some areas, we've got 3 fences built up. And what that has done is it hasn't stopped them from trying to enter, but it has slowed them down to the point where our agents can actually respond, react, and make the apprehension. The smugglers, the criminal organizations that see this now as, well, it's too much of an obstacle now. We're going to move somewhere else.
Back on our flight with Dan, I ask him if more fencing and manpower makes him feel safer on the job.
No.
Really?
I wouldn't say it's any safer. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't stop them from coming across. And this deters, it's a deterrent, and it slows them down, maybe. It's not practical to blow up through a mountain to continue the fence. As far as safety and security, I think that it just makes it more difficult for them, but it doesn't necessarily prevent anything from happening. Whether or not you get anything or not, it's like you don't get paid for finding people. You don't get paid for apprehensions or seizures. It's coming in and being the support that you need to do for the agents on the ground